Good morning, David. It's great to see you here.
Good morning.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, great to be here. Very kind of you to invite me.
No, pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for being a customer of GWI. So I think before we kick off, it'd be great to hear a bit about you and where you're from and how LinkedIn used GWI. It'd be a fantastic way to start.
Well, I've been at LinkedIn for about 4 years. My role is to head up the measurement and insights team across both EMEA and Latin America. I think at super basic level, obviously we're trying to mine our data to unlock insights to help our clients make better decisions, ultimately to drive business growth for their organizations. With regards to GWI, we've done some amazing work with yourselves, and particularly I think one thing that comes to mind is some work around the business of influence, which was a big study to really understand the role of influencer marketing in terms of buyers, really inform their decisions and obviously think about that throughout the customer journey. And a couple of key insights that came out of that. Influencer content, super important in terms of building reputation and trust for brands, which is absolutely critical in terms of getting bought. Expertise is the number one factor in terms of what drives credibility for influencers and that trusted voice, that recommendation. I mean, importantly within it, 64% of buyers said that influencer marketing content in video, so video, short form video was the most compelling. Same time, we also did a bit of research talking to marketeers. 94% of marketeers said actually influencer marketing content is really effective, ultimately in driving business value. So it was a great piece of work, great to partner with your team. We've taken it out to lots of our clients, and obviously we've seen significant growth in creator economy and obviously influencer marketing as part of that.
That's great. And what was unique about using GWI for that?
I suppose the thing that was fantastic, we managed to do it across multiple markets. So we were looking at core markets for us across North America, India, and the UK. Two, about accessing and obviously speaking to decision makers. So we're very specific about the people we wanted to understand. And I think about the timeliness of it. We work very closely and partner with your team in terms of building out the questionnaire, being very specific about how we were really going to get to the key answers that we wanted, obviously building on hypothesis that we collectively work on, and then giving us access to the data in a way that's accessible. So across my team, people could access the data and think about how they can mine that to come up with key insights and key stories for our clients.
That's great. I'd love to explore, obviously LinkedIn, part of the Microsoft organization. We imagine that you might be thought leaders in how you apply and use AI. So we'd love to know how you guys are using AI, how LinkedIn applies AI to the product, but also the way that you work.
Sure. I suppose simple of my view about AI is, it's lowered the floor. It's made lots of things more accessible to many people, but obviously simultaneously it's raised the ceiling. So when I think about it, specifically from an insights perspective, my team spent a lot of time coding, and obviously that's made that way more efficient, way more effective, way more productive. Within GitHub, which we use, Copilot's baked into that to allow people to do things in a much more efficient way. And the other side of it's how you can innovate. So raising the ceiling to me, we've just done a big study about the effectiveness of video. And that really was using large language models to understand the features within video. And what are the features that really drive effect? What are the features that make video work? And looking at 13,000 videos, the scale and the accessibility of, as you say, models has allowed us to do that, and obviously take that out to our clients to ultimately help inform them when they're thinking about developing content in that format.
That's great. And having access to such a huge pool of human data through LinkedIn users, and how does that give you an advantage in AI?
Well, I think certainly from a product perspective, ad wastage is a big issue if you think about efficiency and effectiveness. And I think the core to our platform is obviously, as you say, the unique data. We've got over 1 billion members, 71 million companies. And obviously we've really baked it into the way you can target people. So thinking about predictive models, thinking about propensity, thinking about targeting specific personalized segments. Combining whether it's companies, geographies, functions, titles, but really to try and create audiences that are going to be most responsive to the communications. And ultimately, our goal is to allow our customers to be more effective, to invest money that drives significant business value for the organisation and long-term sustainable growth. I suppose, very recently, or in lots of discussions, there's been a lot of conversations about this particular problem. The debate between humans versus AI. Collectively, my belief that human-centred story is absolutely critical. What we saw in various awards is authentic, purpose-driven narratives, are really effective, putting people, customers, partners, employees first within communications. But ultimately, using real solutions to solve real problems. On the other side of it, I think AI plays a clear role as an accelerator. I think it's absolutely a critical part of B2B's toolkit, whether it's thinking about personalization, unlocking insights, scaling creativity and content. But my view is very much AI as an accelerator. It's about augmenting human ingenuity, rather than replacing it. What about you? What's your thoughts?
I'm aligned with you. I see AI is a huge enabler for people, right? And we've had this question a lot in the business, is like, are we going all in on AI, both in the product and the ways of working, because we think that we can have less people to do the same work? And that's simply not the case. Like, my view on AI is it gives everyone like some element of superpower, right? You get access to the world's knowledge instantaneously in a way that we've never had. And you think how additive that is for junior employees, particularly, who are coming into a business, and we work in a fairly technical industry that's sometimes a bit complicated. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of terminology. There's quite a lot of things that, from the outside, I've been working in it for couple of decades, and I still find certain things challenging, and I still find it difficult to work with data. And so as a new early employee, this is very difficult. And I think AI, and we're proving it in the people that we're hiring, can have a huge role to help accelerate that learning and build expertise quickly. So I think the way we see it is that people can do more and learn quicker. They can onboard quicker. They can provide more value for customers. They can focus on the interesting work. And that's very much how we're building our approach to AIs with the team.
So when you think about large language models, do you think there's a view that we're going to run out of human data to train those models on?
Yes, I don't think it's just a view. It's happening. It's facts. And there's plenty of studies out there that are showing that by 2026 we will have exhausted all the supply of human data. And if you look at LLMs and what they've been trained on, it's like the entirety of the written word through the internet, every book, every journal, every scientific study. There's lots of forms of proprietary data that aren't being shared, that won't have access for everyone. Google have YouTube data. LinkedIn have all the data that users are providing and everything. There aren't many other sources of human data we can use to train models. And what happens when we run out of human data is that companies turn to synthetic data. But there are many problems with synthetic data. Both it's not very representative, it doesn't have a real understanding of humanity. It's also very expensive to build, but it's been proved to be inaccurate. And we need more human data. So, our core belief at GWI is that market research is a very untapped resource of human data. It's like, if you think about it at its core basis, and certainly as GWI, we talk to millions of real people every year, essentially having a conversation with these people, but we're coding it into data. So we've built a process through our Spark product, which is where we use AI to help users find insights within the data. And what it's doing is it's turning our data into text, and it's textualizing it into a format that we can feed back into AI models. And this is, it's very powerful because you can start putting the voice of all consumers back into AI. And the other challenge with AI as it is today is it's not often very representative. We're training it on sets of data that represent very small segments of humanity. Platforms like Reddit, which are fantastic and are core sources of training for LLMs, are, very few people actually contribute to that in the bigger, wider picture. So we're ending up with an aggregation of human knowledge that is highly unrepresentative. It's, representing a very small section of humanity. It's very skewed to US particularly, but Western markets. So, we need more human data. And effectively that written word data's pretty much run out. So we think market research has a really big role to play here.
So you touched on within that synthetic data. And obviously, as you say, lots of conversations around the opportunity that potentially it can provide. What's longer term, what's your view about taking advantage of synthetic data to do research, particularly, obviously, to talk to people in the context of research?
Yeah. So I think, there are definitely some exciting applications of synthetic data, but ultimately to do it properly, you need some foundational human data to train it on. And I think one of the problems at the moment is you're seeing, both in market research and marketing use cases, is people are building synthetic insights or on personas that there's no foundational data to train it. They're just using models out the box, and they're not informed with the right data to build these insights. So, I mean, certainly with marketing, you see there's an enormous number of platforms being built to deliver marketing automation around content, ads, website builds, planning, strategy, everything. And frequently when you dig into these platforms, they're piping in audience insights based on what a foundational large language model is telling them. But there is no human data in there to inform it. So if you read the insights, they are very frequently, they're essentially made up. They're hallucinations. It's talking about things, very generalizations, a lot of stereotyping. It will not represent accurately humans from countries where there's very little data or very little data being fed into large language models. So yeah, it's a real problem. And I think everyone's running at AI, but you've got to solve the problem of the foundational data or you'll never get outputs that are good. Same applies to market research. I've seen lots of synthetic data companies and it applied to approaches where there's, and the allure of it's great. Like you say, I can't find these audiences to research. They're very expensive. There aren't many of them in the world. Not many of them will participate in market research. But the reality is if you don't have that foundational understanding, it's just most likely to be a hallucination coming out of a large language model. So, our approach is really that we will continue to collect human data at scale and drive the scale of that. And AI can help us automate this. It can help us get more surveys to more people and do it more quickly. But you always need the human inside it. So you can use that to create synthetic outputs, but you need that foundational data to do it properly.
I suppose the other question is, how do you make all of this insight accessible? Fundamentally, in a world where we're trying to democratize insights, to make it accessible to a vast proportion of our teams, whether sales teams, marketing teams, other teams within organizations, and you think whether you're working with partners like ourselves or agencies or clients directly, how do you make your data truly accessible? And obviously you talked a bit about Spark already, but other plans in that space?
Yeah, it's the kind of core of our business strategy moving forward. Our principle is to make this very valuable data as accessible to as many people in the organization as possible. And the fascinating thing for me on this journey through GWI is the number and breadth of people that want to use and access consumer insight. And when I started in the industry, it was very much, there was the market research team. We were in the back corner of the office. It was probably the least interesting and sexy job going. But everyone came to you and asked for the insights, and you had to go around and collect the data from various different sources. And now it's very distributed. Everyone wants data, and they want it now, and they don't want to go to another team to get it. People want to generate these insights themselves. If you look at our user base already, it's not dominated by market research. It's salespeople, people in product, C-suite, marketers, planners, strategists. It's not typically market researchers. So when we saw what we could do with AI and how you can combine large language models with high quality data, that's the way that we can completely deliver on our vision to make consumer insight accessible for the organization. So we've been very focused on that in the last 18 months. And we've baked AI into the platform to make it simple to use. So anyone can come to the platform. You don't need any training. You don't need to know how to do market research. You basically need to know how to write a prompt. And it's pretty amazing what it can do, because you can take an idea, you can put it in, it will understand what you're asking for, it will mine the entire data set, it will bring back the most relevant data, and it will translate that back into easily digestible insights, which, if you're a total beginner, is amazing, because the learning curve to getting insights is, I spent years trying to learn how to use crosstabs and systems, and now that's collapsed to seconds. But even if you're an expert working with data, it's like a very fast way to get ideas and insights and It makes you think about data that you may have not looked at if you've gone through your own process. So it's hugely valuable for experts as well. So we're taking that principle and baking it through the product. We've just launched something called Canvas, which is all about automating the creation of research and insight content. And initially, like, you can grab an audience, you can put it through a story and it will create it, you can brand it. And again, you're collapsing something that takes days sometimes to a prompt, which is powerful for everyone. And we will expand that concept to cover lots of different marketing assets and content over time. And the next big thing is really about how, I think AI is driving the demand for data, and particularly lots of different data and unstructured data inside organizations. So we've refactored how our API works so you can feed it into any AI model. We've literally just launched, as of yesterday, we launched an MCP, which means that any AI agent can talk to the GWI API and request insights. So you imagine if using a CRM platform, you're pitching company X, not literally X, I'll think of another example. You're pitching a big brand, that's your prospect. It will talk to GWI, find all the insights relevant to that brand and put them into your CRM so that when you write an email or making the call, you have something interesting to talk to the prospect about. And the next level is to put it into marketing automation. So if you want to automate the writing of emails, but have personalized insights, all of that stuff can happen automatically. So that's the next evolution of making insights accessible to everyone. And it's really exciting transition.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Well, we've got, as you probably know, we've got Sales Navigator as part of LinkedIn. And baked into that is a counter. So if you think about, you're going to have a conversation with your client, you want to understand their business. And what it does is surface loads of information based, from all of the behaviors on our platform, so you can understand and have a more informed discussion. There's also Lead IQ, which looks at you as an individual. So if I was going to give you a call, Tom, and I could find about your interest, your behaviors, your attitude, the content you engage with, which once again, it's about productivity and efficiency, but it allows me to have a better informed conversation with you, which will be more valuable for you, but hopefully more valuable in terms of the outputs of that conversation.
Yeah, it means, and I suppose the data that LinkedIn have make that particularly rich, right? So it's based on real human data.
Yeah, it's based on your behaviors on the platform. And obviously people come to our platform to learn, connect, sell, but also get a job. So there's lots of different parts of your lifestyle that are connected within the context of that. So thinking about the type of courses you do, the skills you have, the content you engage with, can really inform and colour in the picture of kind of what you as an individual are about. Slightly changing subject to measurement and outcomes. So, one of the key things, obviously with any clients, and obviously you've worked in agencies before, is to help justify, the level of investment. So if you're going to go and speak to the board, to justify advertising, is driving real business outcomes. And we just did some research where we spoke to senior marketeers, and they said that 9 out of 10 of them think that AI can really help improve their understanding of effectiveness within comms. And actually, nearly 90% said already they're using AI to build and optimize campaigns. From that perspective, what are your thoughts, both from a GDI or more broadly in terms of the outcome-based world?
Certainly we're very actively involved in supplying data for people that want to automate the creation of content using AI. And we've very clearly shown that content, whether it's ads or copy, is much better when you put the human data in it. And then you can just test the effectiveness of it with normal metrics on the other side, and it works really well. From an effectiveness point of view, it can certainly help. At the moment, we're deploying it to help streamline the creation of surveys and studies, to be able to collect tracking indicators and exposed, unexposed, and performance metrics more quickly. But we'd still very much believe that you should collect that data from a human, not interpret it through an AI. But I'd be interested to know, what have you done in terms of effectiveness and applying AI at LinkedIn?
As I said, part of it is targeting, really to think about how you can effectively target it. And part of it is to, we've got a product called Accelerate, which, particularly is trying to automate the end-to-end process, to think about how you can build campaigns, set them up, think about content generation all the way through to optimization. particularly for smaller customers or smaller clients, allowing them to be more efficient. But obviously, as part of that, it's about experimentation, as you say. There's always a human at the end of the message, and thinking about kind of how they respond to different types of stimulus, different types of content, different types of formats, and then continually iterating and learning and optimizing. So some things never change. I mean, I totally agree with you. The interesting thing is how people make decisions, and I think they're very emotionally led. People believe that B2B is super rational, and it's all about the product, the function, the features. But actually, lots of those decisions are emotional. And people have got a real fear of messing up. You don't want to make the wrong decision. Obviously, internally, you'd probably rather go with the safe option, that you believe is going to be delivering what the organisation needs, which is ultimately to deliver more business effect. So I think, thinking about, as you say, the world of humanity is driven by emotions, and I think large language models are going to struggle to replicate that in a real world example.
Do you have a viewpoint on how, whether AI, there's been some very controversial ads that people have been seeing on the underground about replacing your sales reps with AI sales reps. And obviously LinkedIn is very close to B2B marketing. Do you think that any of that will come to fruition?
I think that business is driven by relationships, is my view. Relationships, you and I, connecting, building a relationship, building a trusted partnership, ultimately understanding each other better. I would say, super true in terms of clients. How do you build that trusted advisor relationship? Obviously, ideally in person. Obviously, in this day and age, some of that's going to be virtual. Absolutely, we're going to see agents proliferate. We're going to see agents, at a simple level, doing the work for you in certain instances, and I think they can play a key role in terms of augmenting what people do, and helping people be more efficient, and obviously automating some of those tasks, that they can be trained on. But I don't think it gets away from the power of, real people talking to real people.
People want to talk to people, 100%.